So folks, when you come here, if anybody tells you don't give money to beggars, please think about what they're saying.
Should you give money to beggars in Ecuador? After listening to Don Shader's story about what happened to his friend Bill, I decided to make this video to react to and highlight certain things that Don Shader said in his video. Also, at the end, I'll give my final thoughts, including how I think we might be the problem and how we can fix it. So let's check it out.
Bill was approached by a young lady and her daughter.
Most of the time, if someone you don't know approaches you, I'd say run.
Begging for money. He gave them money.
Oh, that's nice, Bill. Helping out a young lady and her daughter. Good stuff.
The little daughter indicated that she needed to go to the bathroom. Bill took them to his apartment and let them go in and use the bathroom.
Bill did what now? Bill, my guy. First, I gotta say, giving the money, great intention. I get that. You're probably a very kind-hearted person. But letting them into your house? There's actually a word in Spanish, it's ingenuo, which in English is actually naive. And don't feel offended by it, because I've been called that countless times. But think about it, letting a complete stranger into your house, especially one that is in serious need of cash, there's just tons of ways that people can interpret that situation, and none of them are good.
He gets a phone call, and the phone call is from his landlord. He said that this girl has become a problem for him. This girl is at his apartment banging on the door.
See, and this is just one of many things that could happen when you let a beggar or any stranger know where you live.
And the landlord comes out and approaches them, and when the landlord started questioning them, they threatened her with assault.
Not only does it put you at risk, but it also puts at risk the people who live around you. And to be honest, that's actually probably not the worst thing that could have happened.
We don't get a lot of beggars here in Manta. I think I saw more beggars actually in Cuenca.
Manta seems to have the situation with beggars a little more under control than here in Portoviejo. Here, I think there might be more beggars than tooties. And if you know what tootie is, it's freaking everywhere. You'll find most beggars at traffic lights, but some of them will actually approach you while you're eating at restaurants that have outdoor areas. Could you imagine how awkward it would be to be at a restaurant and for someone to just come up to you and ask you for money? It would be something like, money. Some will also sell you things, while others just seem to take advantage of their children to go around asking for money, which to me is absolutely heartbreaking.
There's not a lot of beggars that are Ecuadorian.
True.
The Ecuadorian people are very resourceful people.
Ecuadorians seem to come up with business ideas every day. A lot of my Ecuadorian friends sell treats and accessories, and my best Ecuadorian friend even sells cell phones and cell phone accessories. A large percentage of the beggars here seem to be from Venezuela, which isn't too surprising considering how bad things are over there. Or at least that's what some friends from Venezuela have told me.
I'm not going to sit here and say don't give them money. Give them a quarter. The problem with that is that they will hound you. And if you don't give them money, they might threaten you, maybe.
Being hounded by beggars is a bit of a rare case. While most beggars are very persistent, and they'll probably ask you countless times to give them some money, others generally tend to have their own specific area, most of the time a traffic light, that if you pass by, that's when they'll ask you for money.
I never know. I've turned down some and I've heard them mutter things as I walk away, but I don't know what they said.
I might have an idea as to what they said, but I'll leave that in my editing somewhere around here.
A beggar came into the restaurant in the mall one day and he was going to give her 20 bucks. I stopped him right in his tracks.
Once again, Bill, you got a heart of gold. But contrary to what the Mandalorian would say, this is not the way.
No, don't do that. The whole family will be here begging.
You kind of got to look at it this way. An Ecuadorian salary for one day could, and I really do mean could, be around $10. And if you're really lucky, and I mean really lucky, you might earn $20 in a day. So could you imagine if people knew that there was someone that was giving away $20 whenever they begged for money? What do you think would happen after that? It would be absolute chaos. I do want to say more on that, but I'll leave it towards the end.
I said, if you want to donate money besides me, you can give it to me.
Or you can give it to me. I'm just kidding.
There are a lot of charities here that will happily take his money, like the Yellow Submarine Project, which is a school for kids.
I honestly didn't know about the Yellow Submarine Project, but there are definitely places you can donate your money to that will certainly make good use of it.
I called someone very close to me, an Ecuadorian, and I was told to tell Bill, stay away.
Most of the time, it's probably better for you to avoid being a part of a situation like that. You really never know what could happen, and it could actually make things worse. That's probably why most people will probably recommend that you not stick your nose into those things.
Don't go, don't talk to the police, don't get involved.
Also, I'm not sure if Bill knows Spanish, Spanish, but the language barrier could definitely be a problem. In the process of interpretation, you might actually end up making things much worse. So if you can avoid that, definitely do.
I've been told that these people, if they get in your house and they get in your apartment and they see that you have anything of value, they will come back with reinforcements and rob you.
Honestly, and thankfully, of course, the fact that they hadn't robbed Bill is much more surprising to me. There are a lot of criminals that scout you out from a distance throughout a long period of time. They learn your routine, try to see how much they can get from you, and rob you at a specific time once they have all of that information. Could you imagine if they already knew what was inside of your house? And I'm not saying that all beggars are criminals or robbers and such, but if you can avoid a situation like that, then it's probably best to do so.
When I give you a recommendation about stuff like this, I'm not talking to hear myself talk. I'm telling you what I've learned.
You know, it's really frustrating when you're trying to help and people think you're making stuff up or that you're crazy.
I had a knife pulled on me in Cuenca in a walking path where I was told that I shouldn't have been. I didn't listen. I could have lost my life that day.
A lot of people have experience in Ecuador for like a week as tourists. And of course in a week, nothing's gonna happen. If it does, you're just very unlucky, but yeah. But imagine, Don Shader got a knife pulled out on him in a walking path. I got robbed at a fair. So when he talks about his experiences from being here for a year, and I talk about mine after being here for more than 10, we're not saying it just to say it. We want you to have the best experience possible, so we want you to know what to expect. And come prepared so you don't have to go through the same thing.
An Ecuadorian saved my life that day by honking his horn and telling the guy if he didn't leave and didn't leave me alone, he'd beat him.
Gotta say, Don, you're pretty lucky. Most people don't stop to save you from instances like that. Really glad you're okay.
My Ecuadorian friend said that Bill probably should move now.
Bill, if you're watching this video and you have not moved yet, then you are definitely taking way too long to do so.
Because now he's a target. He's a target. He's a man that has money and they'll come after him.
Even if the lady isn't a criminal or she doesn't know any criminals, because that could happen too, you definitely want to avoid being somewhere where you know something could happen. Unless you actually like living on the edge, in which case, stay right where you are.
Now I know you haters are going to come on here and tell me, why are you beating up on Manta? Crime, it's crime. You know, why are you talking about crime and everything? Well, you know, crime happens everywhere. And it does happen here too. It's worse in the United States.
Like I said before, we're just trying to help. Neither Don Shader nor I are trying to throw any hate on Manta, on Portoviejo, or much less Ecuador. We actually really want people to come over here. Because I'm sure that when you come here, bad things aside, you're gonna have a great time.
Think real hard before you give money to a beggar. And if you do give it to them, just give them a little bit. And don't take them home with you.
So overall, I agree with what Don Shader said. You don't need to give beggars money and you definitely should not let them in your house. But I'm a bit more adamant about the part of not giving them money at all. And not because I'm stingy, but because there are some problems to giving them money all the time. If you're like Bill and you're a philanthropist, then I understand. You're trying to help and it's a good deed that you do from the kindness of your heart. But giving them money doesn't actually tackle the actual problem. And you see, the thing is that I believe that beggars actually want to stop being beggars. That's probably the end goal for any beggar. But what happens when you just constantly keep giving them money? It becomes a never-ending cycle. Instead, I think we need to find a way for them to actually have some actual work. Give them a chance to make their own money, not through begging. Like the saying goes, give a man a fish and he'll eat a day. Teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for the rest of his life. That sounds great, right? But the sad thing is, my dad actually tried something like that here once. There were some beggars that would always pass by his food business every day, and of course they would ask him for money. So one day, he offered them work. He told them, do some yard work, help us wash the dog, and we'll pay you for it. He asked them to come the next day, and they never came. In fact, they actually started avoiding walking by his business and asking him for money. And that's not all. I've also heard cases where beggars ask for money, not to survive, but because they want to buy some less than legal substances. You know the ones I'm talking about. But what does all this show us? Well, first, that most people are into less than legal substances. I'm kidding. First, it shows us that not every beggar apparently wants to stop being a beggar, and that some will take advantage of your kindness for things that they don't even need. So you really need to think about it when you give beggars money, because even the solution apparently is a problem for some beggars. But in the end, all of this is just what I believe, and you're always free to do whatever you feel is best. If you do give beggars money, try to limit it at least to something like 25 cents or less, because remember that something is better than nothing, and that is your hard-earned money, no matter how small it is. If you think me or Don Shader have any ill will towards Portoviejo, Manta, or Ecuador, then I invite you to check out my Portoviejo video, where I literally highlight all the amazing things that Portoviejo has to offer. And you should definitely check out Don Shader's channel, where he talks about Manta and his experiences there. And definitely stay safe and don't let any strangers inside of your house. No, seriously. And as always, ace out.